Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. And today I've got another book review for you. I'd like to talk about this book, Meru by S.B. Divya. Thank you to 47 North for this one. This is one that I got at the publisher at my own request. They sent it to me a few months ago. I finally got around to reading it. I just got back from a trip to China last week, and this was my main read when I was out there. And I'm glad I picked it up. It's a fantastic space opera. It's richly layered with some very impressive world building and some memorable characters and thought-provoking themes. So I was definitely impressed with this one. So let's talk a little bit about the premise and the world that this author's created, because it's quite intriguing, I think. We've got a story that takes place several hundred years in the future, in a period known as the Alloy Era, so called because of the dominance of an advanced race of spacefaring beings known as the Alloys. And this is one of the most distinctive features of the world building of this novel. The Alloys are very interesting creatures. They're not aliens, they're not AIs, but they're actually post-human descendants that came about because of genetic engineering. Now, humans do still exist in this world. They haven't replaced us, but they are considerably more advanced than us. And they appear in different sizes and forms. And while they do share ancestry with humans, they are capable of some remarkable things that, because of their unique biology, that are way beyond our potential. So, for example, they can travel freely in outer space, across vast distances, light years even. And they have extremely long lifespans, and they use phoric communication to talk to each other. So they express themselves through colours in the chromatophores in their skin. So it's kind of reminiscent of the Aluon race in Becky Chambers' Wayfarers series, if you're familiar with that. So we've got this super powerful race who have spread throughout the galaxy. And meanwhile, humanity is restricted to staying behind on Earth, which is actually not such a bad existence at this point in the future. It's quite a peaceful place to be, but it's still seen as a bit of a backwater from the Alloys' perspective. But we can't be trusted to expand any further beyond Earth. And this is because we learned that within the backstory, humanity previously made a mess of things. On Earth, we overexploited our resources. We failed to take care of our planet. And not just Earth, but Mars as well, which we subjected to a terribly destructive terraforming failure. So since then, the Alloys have sort of helped clean things up. There have been some major social and cultural shifts over time. People now regret the mistakes of their past. And it's generally agreed that humanity should stay behind on Earth for our own good. Human expansionism is seen as a problem. It's essentially dangerous and destructive. The Alloys are free to explore the galaxy. That's no problem, but humanity can't. And most people are content with this. And I think this is quite intriguing because the concept of human ambition itself is kind of pathologized in this world, and it is seen as a destructive disorder. But there are a few humans who yearn for more, who do want to go out and see the stars, and that's where the story comes in. So a new exoplanet gets discovered called Meru, right? And it's got a very rich atmosphere with Earth-like conditions. And this is quite an attractive site, maybe, for expansion. And despite the age-old restrictions on space travel, there are some alloys and some humans who think it would be worth investigating this planet as a potential for human settlers. So in comes our protagonist, whose name is Jayanti, and she's a young human woman with an unusually adventurous spirit, and she dreams of traveling into space, and she gets fascinated by this planet, and she gets selected to visit Meru on a year-long research project, an expedition to investigate the viability of human settlement. So this is quite a major break with the past. If she can demonstrate that humans are able to live on the planet safely and responsibly without polluting the environment and without damaging the ecology and without the need for destructive terraforming, it could get the green light for colonization. So she gets picked for this task, and it's a massive privilege for her, the opportunity of a lifetime, but it's also a huge responsibility because the whole future of humanity depends on the success of her assignment. Not just the potential for human expansion, but also the potential to repair humanity's reputation as greedy and destructive, this age-old reputation, and to reset human alloy relations, prove just how great humanity could be. So it's an interesting premise for sure. She gets taken to this planet, and she is accompanied with her alloy pilot, Vaha, whose job it is to transport her there and take part in the research with her. And Vaha essentially acts like a sentient ship in a way, because they need to transport her there. But they're not a spacecraft, of course. They are a biological being, a post-human entity. So Jayanti needs to travel across space inside Vaha's body. And this gives you an idea of just how big these creatures can be, the scale of them. And I found this a little mind-boggling. But things get stranger still once they arrive on the planet. You see, Vaha can't live on the planet's surface. They can't stay there for very long, so they have to go up into orbit above the planet and meanwhile leave behind an incarn of themselves, which is basically a human-sized humanoid form. So it's the same person, but in an incarn of themselves on the planet. And Vaha's alloy incarn will work with Jayanti, the human, and despite their vastly different biologies and forms, they are going to need to form a close bond in order to live and work together on this project, on this strange world, light years away from home. So that's the basic premise, and those are the two main characters. It's a little slow to get started, but I think that's kind of necessary to create this sort of complex world, this vivid and intriguing world that the author has constructed. But once you get past the first 100 or 150 pages or so, the pacing steps up a bit and things start to get really interesting. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but I can assure you that there are plenty of twists and turns and intrigue to keep things exciting. The concepts are engaging, and the storytelling is emotionally rich, with likable characters that are easy to root for. And these apply especially to Jayanti and Vahar, the two main protagonists in this book. But there are a whole host of additional interesting supporting characters besides, including more humans and alloys, and also AI characters, AI constructs. I think perhaps the only thing that I struggled with when reading this was trying to form a mental picture of just what the alloys are, what they look like in my head. I found them quite mysterious, quite nebulous. They're described as post-human beings with remarkable abilities, which I've described. And there is some hint to their appearance. So, for example, it's mentioned that they have wings and tails, which facilitate travel through space. But, like I said, the descriptions are so kind of vague and nebulous, and they're such powerful and mighty beings. They almost feel like divine beings to me, or demigods. I'm not sure if that's how they were meant to come across, but that's kind of the impression I got. So I wouldn't say that's a criticism so much. It's just something I found quite challenging to engage with when I was reading. Also, the author refers to the alloys using neopronouns for the most part. And I noticed that this is something that some reviewers take issue with on Goodreads. So Vaha, for example, is an agender character. So instead of using he, him, or she, her, they are referred to as Z, Z-I-E, and Zir, Z-I-R. Those are the pronouns that the author uses. And at first it does feel quite strange and awkward to get used to when you're reading this. But you do get used to it after a while. And I think it does kind of make sense within the context of the world of the story. Some people don't really like neopronouns, but I think they can work sometimes in science fiction in the right context, and I think they do work here. So again, if you've read Becky Chambers before, again, you'll be familiar with this. So overall, though, I found Meru compelling to read. It's an optimistic story. It's an absorbing story. And it combines thoughtful social science fiction with thrilling space travel adventure and intriguing futuristic ideas, and some intimate interspecies character building. So I'm giving it a score of 4 stars. Now, there is a sequel to this book called Loka, which I have here. This is going to be published very soon on the 13th of August. I've already got a copy here, again, thanks to the publisher. So I will be starting this one soon. I want to see where the story goes from here. Definitely looking forward to it. I've also been in touch with the author SB Divya, and I should be interviewing her on the channel quite soon, so look out for that. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more sci-fi content.